Comic Beyond, and continuing with our fantasy medieval type stories, we're doing a story called Batman Dark Knight of the Round Table by Bob Layton and Dick Giordano. And this is a medieval Batman story, it's an elseworld story, and so if you don't know, elseworld stories usually tend to take a character or a situation and kind of flip it. And so a lot of times in Batman stories, they tinker with his origin and stuff like that. So in this, it takes place in like King Arthur time. So our story goes, King Arthur is betrayed by his sorceress, Morgana, and she tricks him into bearing a son. So she ends up taking his son and hiding him. So since Arthur doesn't know where, and he knows that she's up to no good, he ends up exiling all the families that have had a child recently. And the Waynes just happen to be one of them. It's not Bruce, but they did have a baby. And so, meanwhile, Morgana, she has a dream that she's killed by one of the Waynes. And so she ends up summoning these demon bat creatures, and they go out and kill them. So they're on a ship on their way to being exiled, and the ship's attacked by these creatures that she sent after them. And so the ship's attacked, and in traditional Batman origin tropes, the Waynes are killed. Bruce is the only survivor. He washes up on the shores of Avalon. There he's looked after and taken care of, and over time he grows up, but then ends up getting a visit from the spirit of Merlin, who ends up guiding him and kind of like teaching him and training him, and then ends up giving him his Batman armor, his knight armor. So while all this is going on, wars have been breaking out, and it's been led by Arthur's son, who's just he's evil. Just because of the sorceress, this was her grand plan for getting the child. So Batman, just like in regular Batman story, goes away, he trains, and then goes back to Gotham. Well, in this, he goes away and he trains with Merlin, and just to go back and try to stop the evil stuff that's going on. So he ends up going to Camelot, and he starts doing some good, and so they bring him in, and while he's there, he gets in a, it was random, I thought, but he ends up getting introduced to Talia Al Ghul. And as Batman fans know, her dad is the leader of the League of Shadows, or League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul. So she comes to him with a typical offer to marry her, that way she can take over her father's legacy or whatever. He wants to, he tells her that he really wants to, and that he finds her really attractive, but he can't because he's kind of sworn to just uphold his duty as the Dark Knight. So he sends her off and tells her no, so she ends up telling her father, so he ends up aligning his forces with the sorceress. And so Batman ends up going into battle with Arthur's knights to take out the sorceress, Arthur's son. So Arthur actually ends up joining them on the battlefield and ends up coming face to face with his son. And just like in the sorceress's dream, she dies by the hand of a Wayne, which is Batman. He ends up stabbing her with his sword, and Arthur ends up taking out his son. And so they don't prevent the war, but they stop the war from merging on. And so by the end of the book, Arthur actually appoints Batman as the new protector of Camelot. And in the very last page, you see over generations that there's been a Batman to protect it. That's basically the story. There was a few things that happened in between. One of them I'm not really a fan of. So this is a 2-issue story, and they cram a lot of story into it. So I might have not got to every little detail of it just because there is a lot. I think there's like 22, 23 chapters and just 2 prestige books. But they do introduce Robin, and he's not like Robin the sidekick. He's like Robin the servant boy. And so the castle, or whatever the Batman's dwelling in is attacked, and so they are attacking Batman and Alfred. The Servant Boy, which is literally dressed in the Robin costume and colors, comes in to try to help them, and as fast as I was like, oh man, they introduced Robin, he's killed off. So they actually kill Robin off in this book. I left that part out of the story just because for me, it was a little too much. We didn't really need any kind of Robin in this. And I thought the introduction of Talia and her father Roz, I thought that was even a little too much. I mean, the story could have just progressed without having those characters in it. But I actually enjoyed the story, and I really liked the look of Batman in his medieval armor. I thought it was kind of cool. So, again, only 2 issues, but they cram a lot of story into it. But those are the highlights, and it's actually not that bad of a story. Most Elseworld stories are pretty good, especially the ones that involve Batman. The ones that don't are usually here and there. There's a few good ones. But I actually really did enjoy this one. I did want to include it into our little theme that we're having here, because we've already did Medieval Spawn, Witchblade, Lady Death, Medieval Witchblade. So I'm going to continue this little series we're on. And I'm actually going to do another Camelot type Arthur story, but it involves Iron Man and Doctor Doom eventually. And it's also written by Bob Layton. But we'll get into that. It's one of my favorite Iron Man, Doctor Doom stories. Probably my favorite Iron Man story. But we're going to get into that sometime. But I just wanted to share it out there because it's written. Actually, it came before this, but it's written by the same Bob Layton and art. So, well, honestly, I think, let's see. Yeah, so Bob Layton did the story, and he did some of the artwork, and I believe it was the same with the Iron Man Doctor Doom story. So we will be covering that, and I'm going to continue this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you can find these issues and check it out for yourself. If not, at least Google the image of the covers, because on the back side of issue 2, it just has a really cool pose for the medieval Batman. So I thought this was cool. I've been watching the Lord of the Rings show and the new Game of Thrones show, so I'm kind of into the fantasy medieval stuff right now. So I'm going to dig out as many issues of stuff that I can that involve that kind of theme, and we're going to cover it here on the channel. So if you like this and you're curious about more, like and subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you later.